There's a man sitting alone in his apartment right now. The city hums outside his window. His phone buzzes with notifications, dating app matches, messages from people wanting his attention, his time, his energy. He looks at the screen, then sets it face down on the table. He pours himself a drink, opens a book, and settles into the silence. And in that moment, he possesses something most men are desperately searching for, but will never find. Freedom. Real freedom. The kind that can't be given or taken away. The kind that lives inside you, independent of anyone else's approval, desire, or presence. Society will tell you this man is broken, that he's missing out, that true fulfillment only comes when you find someone to complete you. But what if I told you that the ancient Stoics, men who built empires and weathered exile, who faced death with calm eyes and lived through chaos with unshaken minds, understood a truth that modern culture has forgotten? What if the greatest power a man can possess isn't the ability to attract someone, but the ability to be whole without anyone at all? This isn't about bitterness. This isn't about fear or avoidance. This is about sovereignty, about building an inner fortress so strong that you don't need external validation to feel alive. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire, commanded armies, held the fate of millions in his hands. Yet he wrote in his private journal that the most peaceful place a man can retreat to isn't a mansion in the countryside or a vacation by the sea. It's his own mind, his own soul, the space within that no one else can touch. The Stoics called this Autarkeia, self-sufficiency, the ultimate virtue. And they understood that until a man learns to be complete in his solitude, he'll spend his entire life as a beggar, seeking scraps of worth from others. So, let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat in silence with yourself and felt at peace? When was the last time you made a decision purely for you, without considering what someone else might think? When was the last time you felt truly free? Because what I'm about to share with you isn't just philosophy, it's liberation. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The world has sold you a script. From the time you were a boy, you've been handed a blueprint for what success looks like. Get the girl, build the relationship, settle down, find your other half. The narrative is everywhere, in movies, in songs, in the casual conversations where people ask with pitying eyes, "Why are you still single?" As if being alone is a disease that needs curing, as if you're incomplete until someone else validates your existence. And here's the trap. Most men spend their entire lives chasing this script without ever questioning whether it's true. They measure their worth by their relationship status. They gauge their masculinity by how attractive their partner is, by how quickly they can lock someone down, by whether they can prove to the world that they're wanted. But the Stoics saw through this illusion 2,000 years ago. Epictetus, who spent years as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, taught that true freedom has nothing to do with external circumstances. A man can be chained in a prison cell and be free. A man can live in a palace and be enslaved. The difference isn't what surrounds you, it's what lives within you. He wrote that when you attach your happiness to anything outside your control, you become a slave to that thing. The weather, your reputation, other people's opinions, and yes, whether or not you're in a relationship. Think about that for a moment. Every time you check your dating app, hoping for a match, you're giving away your power. Every time you change who you are to be more appealing to someone else, you're surrendering your sovereignty. Every time you measure your day by whether she texted back, you're living as a prisoner. And the cruelest part is that society applauds this slavery. It calls it love. It calls it devotion. It calls it being a good partner. But here's what nobody tells you. 63% of men between 18 and 29 are single right now. That's not a statistic from ancient Rome. That's from 2025, and it's rising. Meanwhile, only 34% of women in that same age group are single. What does that tell you? It tells you that the dating landscape has fundamentally shifted. It tells you that the old rules don't work anymore. And it tells you something even more important. You're not alone in feeling like the game is rigged. But here's where most men make their fatal mistake. They look at these numbers and feel inadequate. They internalize the message that something is wrong with them, that they're not good enough, attractive enough, successful enough. They double down on the chase, working harder to prove their value in a marketplace that treats them as disposable. And with every rejection, every ghosting, every situation where they compromise their values just to keep someone interested, they lose a little more of themselves. The Stoics would look at this and see madness. They'd ask, why are you seeking your worth in the opinions of others? Why are you measuring your happiness by whether someone else chooses you? Why are you giving away the one thing that truly belongs to you, your inner peace, in exchange for scraps of external validation? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Read that again. You have power over your mind, not over whether she likes you back, not over whether your relationship works out, not over whether you end up alone. You have power over how you interpret these things, over what meaning you assign to them, over whether they disturb your peace or leave you untouched. And that, brother, is everything, because here's the truth that will set you free. Being single isn't a problem to solve, it's a power to harness. And the moment you understand that, the moment you stop seeing solitude as something to escape and start seeing it as something to embrace, everything changes. You stop being a man who needs someone. You become a man who chooses connection from a place of fullness, not emptiness. You stop being the beggar at the table. You become the king who decides if and when he shares his throne. But society doesn't want you to know this, because a man who is complete on his own is dangerous. He can't be controlled. He can't be manipulated. He doesn't need the validation that keeps the whole system running. He's free, and free men change the world. So let me show you what that freedom looks like. The ancient Stoics had a word that most people have never heard: autarkeia. It's Greek, and it means self-sufficiency. Not in the sense that you live in the woods, chopping your own wood and filtering your own water, but in the deeper sense that your well-being, your peace, your sense of worth comes from within. It's the understanding that you need nothing outside yourself to be complete. That happiness isn't something you find in another person. It's something you cultivate in the fortress of your own mind. Marcus Aurelius understood this at the deepest level. Here was a man who had everything society says should make you happy: Emperor of Rome, immense wealth, beautiful family, power that stretched across the known world. Yet he wrote in his meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul, not his palace, not his empire, his own soul." And he added, "It is in your power to retire into yourself whenever you choose." Think about what he's saying. The greatest sanctuary you'll ever know isn't a place. It's a practice. It's the ability to withdraw into your own mind, to find peace there regardless of what's happening around you, whether you're surrounded by chaos or sitting in silence, whether you're with someone or alone. The peace isn't circumstantial, it's constitutional. It's built into who you are. And once you develop this capacity, you become unstoppable. Epictetus, who went from slavery to philosophical mastery, taught his students that the key to this self-sufficiency is understanding what you control and what you don't. You don't control whether people love you. You don't control whether relationships last. You don't control the economic factors that make dating harder. the cultural shifts that change the rules, or the fact that modern technology has turned human connection into a swipe-based marketplace. None of that is in your control, but you do control your character, your response, your inner state, your decision about what kind of man you're going to be regardless of circumstance. And this is where it gets powerful. When Musonius Rufus, another Stoic philosopher, was exiled from Rome, sent away from his home, his friends, everything familiar, he didn't collapse into despair. He didn't spend his days mourning what he'd lost. Instead, he used his solitude to deepen his practice. He worked on his virtue. He refined his character. He became more himself, not less. And when people came from far away to learn from him, even in exile, they found a man who radiated peace, a man who proved that external circumstances have no power over an internally complete person. There's a story about Zeus, the king of the gods in Greek mythology, that the Stoics loved. During the cosmic conflagrations, when the universe would reset and everything would be destroyed, Zeus would sit alone. No other gods, no creation, just emptiness. And yet, he remained content, at peace, because his completeness didn't depend on what existed outside him. The Stoics used this image to teach that true self-sufficiency means you could lose everything, everyone, and still have yourself. And if you've built that self well, if you've made it a fortress of virtue and reason, then you have everything you need. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds lonely. This sounds like isolation. But here's where the Stoics make a crucial distinction. There's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being disconnected. It's what happens when you're surrounded by people but feel empty inside. It's what happens when you're in a relationship but realize you don't actually know yourself anymore. Loneliness comes from lacking connection with others or with yourself. But solitude? Solitude is chosen. It's the intentional practice of spending time with yourself, not because you can't find anyone else, but because you recognize the value of your own company. Modern research backs this up. Studies show that when people choose to be alone, when they see solitude as an opportunity rather than a punishment, their stress levels drop. Their sense of autonomy increases. They report feeling more like themselves. But when solitude is forced, when it comes from rejection or circumstance beyond their control, that's when the negative effects show up. The difference is agency, power, choice. A man who embraces solitude isn't running from connection. He's building the foundation that makes genuine connection possible. Because you can't share yourself with someone else if you don't know who you are. You can't build intimacy if you're empty inside. The strongest relationships don't happen between two incomplete people desperately trying to fill each other's voids. They happen between two whole people who choose to walk side by side, not because they need to, but because they want to. And this brings us to something crucial. Self-sufficiency doesn't mean you become cold or isolated. Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most influential men in Rome, wrote extensively about friendship. He said that a wise man doesn't need friends, but he still desires them, not because they complete him, not because he can't survive without them, but because friendship, real friendship built on virtue and mutual respect, enhances life. It's a preferred indifferent, as the Stoics would say. Nice to have, but not necessary for your peace. Think about how revolutionary that is. Most men approach relationships from need. They need validation, they need sex, they need emotional support, they need someone to make them feel valuable. But when you approach from self-sufficiency, everything shifts. You don't need anyone, you choose them. And that choice, made from abundance rather than scarcity, creates relationships that are powerful, genuine, and free. because neither person is using the other to fill a hole. Both are whole already. They're just enjoying the experience of being whole together. But getting to this point requires practice. It requires you to spend time alone and actually work on yourself. Not just scroll social media or numb out with entertainment. Real inner work. And that's uncomfortable, because when you sit in silence with yourself, when you remove all the distractions and external validations, you're forced to confront who you actually are. The thoughts you've been avoiding, the patterns you've been running from, the ways you've been living someone else's script instead of your own. Marcus Aurelius faced this daily. In his journal, he wrote reminders to himself. Wake up in the morning and remember who you are. Remember your principles. Don't let the chaos of the day pull you away from yourself. He understood that the greatest battle isn't against external enemies. It's against the internal tendency to lose yourself in the noise, to give away your power piece by piece until you wake up one day and realize you don't recognize the person you've become. But when you build self-sufficiency, when you develop autarkeia, something remarkable happens. You stop being reactive. You stop living at the mercy of circumstance. Whether someone texts you back or doesn't, whether people approve of your choices or judge them, whether you spend Friday night with someone or alone with a good book, none of it disturbs your peace. You're grounded, centered, free. And that freedom, brother, is more valuable than any relationship could ever be. Because here's the paradox. The man who needs no one is the man everyone wants to be around. Strength attracts. Completeness attracts. When you're not grasping, not needy, not performing for validation, people feel it. They sense that you're different, that you operate from a different place. And the connections you do form, when you're ready, if you choose them, will be deeper and more real than anything you could build from a place of need. So what does this actually give you? What changes when you embrace solitude instead of running from it? The Stoics believed that external goods come in two categories: things that are genuinely good, like virtue and wisdom and character, and things that are preferred indifference, wealth, health, relationships. Nice to have, but not essential to your well-being, not determinative of your worth. The moment you internalize this distinction, a weight lifts, because you stop attaching your happiness to things you can't control. Let's get practical. When you're single and you embrace it, you have financial sovereignty. No expensive dates where you're performing, trying to impress someone. No shared expenses where you have to negotiate every purchase. No compromise on how you spend your money. Every dollar you earn is yours to allocate as you see fit. You can invest in yourself, build your skills, travel, save, create, and you don't have to justify these choices to anyone. Modern research shows that single men, particularly those who embrace their status rather than fighting it, report lower financial stress. They have more control over their economic futures. They're not tied to another person's spending habits, debt, or financial crises. And in a world where economic pressure is one of the leading causes of relationship breakdown, that's not a small thing. You eliminate an entire category of stress simply by being financially sovereign. Then there's time sovereignty. Think about the hours you get back when you're not texting constantly, planning dates, negotiating weekend plans, attending social functions for someone else's sake. Time is the only truly non-renewable resource. Once it's gone, it's gone. And most men give away enormous chunks of their time without even realizing it, not because they want to, but because they feel obligated, because they're afraid of what will happen if they don't, because they're trying to keep someone happy, keep the relationship going, prove they're committed. But when you're single, every hour belongs to you. Want to wake up early and work on that business idea? Do it. Want to spend Saturday learning a new skill? You can. Want to sit in complete silence for an afternoon and just think? Nobody's going to text you asking where you are or why you're being distant. This isn't selfishness, it's self-ownership. And the Stoics believed that a man who doesn't own his time doesn't own his life. Marcus Aurelius, again, the busiest man in the empire, wrote about guarding his time like a fortress. He knew that every hour given to someone else's priorities was an hour stolen from his own development, his own contemplation, his own practice of virtue. He wasn't antisocial, he fulfilled his duties, but he was ruthless about protecting the time he needed to be alone with his own mind, because he understood that without that time, he'd lose himself in the chaos of external demands. Then there's mental sovereignty. This might be the most important one. When you're in a relationship, especially one built on neediness rather than choice, you carry enormous emotional labor. You're managing someone else's feelings, anticipating their needs, walking on eggshells to avoid conflict, constantly adjusting yourself to maintain harmony. And over time, this erodes you. You start to forget what you actually think, what you actually want, because you've spent so much energy managing the relational dynamics. But when you're alone, your mind is your own. You can think clearly, process your own emotions, develop your own worldview. Make decisions based on your values, not on what will keep the peace. There's a reason why great thinkers throughout history, from philosophers to scientists to artists, often did their best work in solitude. Because the mind needs space to wander, to connect ideas, to see things from new angles, and you can't do that when you're constantly reactive, constantly managing relationship dynamics, constantly split between your own needs and someone else's. Research in neuroscience shows that solitude activates what's called the default mode network in your brain. This is the network responsible for self-reflection, for integrating experiences, for creative thinking. It's the mode your brain enters when you're not responding to external stimuli, and it only activates when you're truly alone, not just physically but mentally. When you're not checking your phone every 5 minutes to see if she responded, when you're not running through conversations in your head, analyzing what you said wrong, when you're just present with yourself. And this is where creativity and insight emerge. Every major breakthrough you've had, every moment of clarity, probably came when you were alone, in the shower, on a walk, lying in bed before sleep, because your brain needs that downtime to process, to connect, to see patterns. But if you're constantly engaged with others, constantly stimulated, constantly performing, you never give your brain that space. You stay on the surface, reactive, never truly creative or deeply thoughtful. The Stoics understood this intuitively. They practiced morning and evening reflection, time alone to examine their day, their choices, their progress toward virtue. Seneca wrote about the importance of setting aside time each day to commune with yourself, not to judge yourself harshly, but to observe, to understand, to refine your character away from the eyes and opinions of others. Because real growth happens in private. The person you become in solitude is the person you actually are. Everything else is performance. Then there's creative sovereignty. How many men have buried their dreams because a relationship demanded their time and energy elsewhere? How many businesses never started, books never written, skills never mastered, because there was always someone else's needs taking priority? This isn't about blaming relationships. It's about recognizing that everything has a cost, and the cost of relationship, especially one you're not fully choosing, is often paid in abandoned potential. When you're alone, you can be selfish with your ambition. You can pour yourself into your craft, your mission, your vision for who you want to become. No negotiations, no guilt, no compromise. just pure focused energy on building the life you actually want. And here's what's interesting. The men who do this, who use their solitude to build something significant, often find that relationships come naturally later, not because they went looking, but because they became someone worth finding, someone who radiates purpose and completeness, and that energy attracts. But there's something even deeper here, something the Stoics saw clearly. When you build your life on your own terms, when you develop skills and pursue excellence and create value, you build self-respect, real self-respect. Not the fake confidence you try to project to impress people, but the genuine, unshakable knowledge that you're living with integrity, that you're becoming who you're meant to be, that you're not wasting your life trying to meet someone else's expectations. And self-respect, true self-respect, is the foundation of everything else. You can't love yourself if you don't respect yourself, and you can't respect yourself if you're living a life of compromise and neediness. Epictetus taught his students that the only thing truly yours is your character. Everything else can be taken away. Your possessions, your relationships, your reputation, your health. But your character, the quality of your inner life, belongs only to you. And it's built in solitude, in the choices you make when nobody's watching, in the discipline you maintain when there's no external reward, in the integrity you hold when it would be easier to compromise. This is why the Stoics saw self-sufficiency as the ultimate virtue, not because they were antisocial, but because they understood that a man who can't be happy alone will never be truly happy with anyone else. He'll always be grasping, always be insecure, always be dependent on external validation to feel okay. And that's not freedom. That's slavery with extra steps. So when you hear that 63% of young men are single, don't see it as a crisis. See it as an opportunity to build yourself without distraction, to develop the kind of inner strength that most men never discover because they jump from relationship to relationship, never spending time alone, never doing the deep work. You have time, you have space, you have sovereignty. Use it, but let me be clear about something. This isn't about avoiding relationships forever. This isn't about becoming some isolated hermit who thinks he's better than everyone. The Stoics didn't advocate for that. Seneca had a wife and family. Marcus Aurelius had a wife and children. They participated fully in social life, but they did it from a place of inner completeness. They engaged with others not because they needed to, but because they chose to. And there's all the difference in the world between those two positions. The goal isn't to stay single forever. The goal is to become the kind of man who doesn't need to be in a relationship to feel complete. And once you're that man, if you choose to be with someone, it will be from a place of strength, not weakness, from abundance, not scarcity, from sovereignty, not desperation. And those kinds of relationships, rare as they are the only ones worth having. But here's what most men miss. They think being single means they're incomplete. They've internalized the message that they're only half a person until they find their other half. And this belief, more than anything else, keeps them trapped. Because when you believe you're incomplete, you'll do anything to feel whole. You'll compromise your values. You'll tolerate disrespect. You'll lose yourself piece by piece trying to hold on to someone, anyone, who makes you feel less empty. But the Stoics would tell you this is backward. You're not empty. You never were. You've just been taught to see yourself that way. Society profits from your insecurity. The entire dating industry, the relationship advice industry, the self-help industry depends on you believing you're broken and need fixing, that you're incomplete and need completing. But what if none of that is true? What if you're already whole, you've just forgotten how to feel it? Marcus Aurelius wrote about this constantly, the idea that we already possess everything we need, That virtue, the only true good, is already within our capacity. We don't need to acquire it from outside. We need to cultivate it from within. And the best place to do that cultivation is in solitude, away from the noise, away from the opinions, away from the endless pressure to be something other than what you are. In solitude, you can be honest. You can strip away the masks you wear for others and look at who you actually are. And that honesty, uncomfortable as it might be at first, is the beginning of real transformation. There's a concept in psychology called self-determination theory. It says that humans have three basic needs: autonomy, the sense that you control your own life; competence, the feeling that you're capable and growing; and relatedness, connection with others. Most people think relatedness is the most important, but research shows that autonomy is actually the foundation. Without it, without the sense that you're living your own life on your own terms, the other needs can't be truly satisfied. You might have relationships, but you'll feel trapped in them. You might be skilled, but you'll never feel like it's enough because you're measuring yourself by external standards. But when you build autonomy, when you develop true self-sufficiency, everything else flows naturally. You pursue competence for its own sake, not to impress anyone. And when you do connect with others, it's genuine, because you're not performing, you're not pretending, you're just being yourself, and you're okay if people accept that or don't. That's the power position. That's freedom. And here's something crucial. The Stoics believed that you had to be careful about who you spent time with. They weren't elitist about it, but they understood that you become like the people you surround yourself with. Spend time with complainers, you become a complainer. Spend time with people who lack integrity, your own integrity erodes. Spend time with people who see relationships as transactions, who manipulate and play games, and you start to see the world that way too. But when you're selective, when you use your solitude to clarify your values and then only engage with people who align with those values, your life transforms. You're no longer tolerating relationships out of loneliness. You're cultivating connections based on mutual respect and shared virtue. And those connections, even if they're fewer, are infinitely more valuable than 100 shallow relationships. Built on convenience or need, Seneca wrote extensively about this. He said that you should associate with people who will improve you and avoid people who will corrupt you. And he added that you should also be someone worth associating with, someone who adds value, someone who embodies the virtues you want to see in the world. That's the work of solitude. Becoming that person, not for anyone else, for yourself, because you want to look in the mirror and respect who you see. And this brings us to perhaps the most important point: the validation trap. Traditional masculinity, at least the toxic version of it, measures a man's worth by his romantic and sexual success. Can he get girls? Is he a player? Is his girlfriend hot? These are the metrics by which many men, consciously or unconsciously, judge themselves and each other. And it's poison, because it makes your self-worth dependent on factors largely outside your control. Physical attractiveness, which is mostly genetic; social status, which is often circumstantial; the approval of others, which is fickle and unpredictable. But the Stoics would say this is insane. Why would you tie your sense of value to things you can't control? Why would you give others that much power over your inner state? Epictetus taught that the only thing you truly control is your will, your capacity to choose your response, your commitment to virtue. That's it. Everything else is fortune, and fortune is unreliable. So when you measure yourself by relationship status, you're basically saying that your worth depends on luck, on being born with certain features, on meeting the right person at the right time, on 1,000 variables you have no control over. And that's a recipe for lifelong insecurity, because even if you do get into a relationship, you'll never feel secure. You'll always wonder if you're good enough. You'll always fear losing what you've tied your identity to. You'll be jealous, controlling, needy, because deep down, you know your worth isn't real. It's contingent on her staying. But when you build your worth on virtue, on character, on the man you're becoming, nobody can take that from you. Relationships come and go, circumstances change, but who you are, the integrity you've built, the self-respect you've earned through right action, that's permanent. That's unshakable. And paradoxically, when you stop seeking validation from relationships, when you develop genuine self-worth, you become more attractive. Because people can sense desperation, they can feel neediness, and it repels them, but they can also sense strength, completeness, self-possession, and that draws them in. The Stoics weren't advocating for pride or arrogance. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that he was just a human, fallible and temporary. But he also knew that his worth came from his character, not from his circumstances. He could be emperor or exile, and his value as a person wouldn't change. Because value, true value, is internal. It's the quality of your thoughts, your choices, your virtue. And that's entirely within your control to develop. So here's what I want you to hear. If you're single right now, you're not broken, you're not incomplete, you're not less than. You have something precious: time, space, sovereignty. Use it. Build yourself. Develop your skills. Clarify your values. Strengthen your character. Read the books that expand your mind. Pursue the projects that ignite your passion. Train your body. Master your emotions. Become so complete in yourself that you don't need anyone else's validation to feel whole. And when you do that, one of two things will happen. Either you'll discover that you actually prefer solitude, that you've built a life so rich and meaningful on your own that adding a relationship would be a downgrade. And that's fine. That's a valid choice. The Stoics would respect it. Or you'll eventually meet someone and choose to build something with them. But it will be from a place of strength, from wholeness, from sovereignty. And that relationship, if it happens, will be powerful because it's not built on need. It's built on choice, on two complete people deciding to walk together, not because they have to, but because they want to. But either way, you win, because you'll have done the work. You'll have built the inner fortress. You'll have developed self-sufficiency. And nobody can take that from you. Not rejection, not loneliness, not societal pressure. You'll be free. And freedom, brother, is everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote late in his life, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Read that again. Very little is needed. It's all within yourself, not in finding the right person, not in changing your circumstances, not in achieving some external milestone. Within yourself, in your way of thinking, in your capacity to find peace regardless of what's happening around you. That's the promise of Stoicism. That's the gift of solitude. Complete independence from external validation. Total sovereignty over your inner state. The ability to be happy, genuinely happy, in any circumstance, alone or with someone, wealthy or poor, praised or criticized. None of it touches you, because you're grounded in something deeper than circumstance. You're grounded in virtue, in character, in the kind of strength that can only be built in the forge of solitude. So use this time. Don't waste it wishing you were somewhere else, with someone else. Don't spend your days scrolling dating apps or feeling sorry for yourself. The Stoics would tell you that's a form of suicide, killing time, killing potential, killing the opportunity to become something greater. Instead, wake up every morning and ask yourself, what kind of man do I want to be? And then become that man, not for anyone else, for yourself, because you respect yourself enough to live with integrity. Build your morning routine, train your body, develop your skills, read philosophy, journal your thoughts, sit in silence and just breathe. Let yourself feel what you feel without judgment. Work on your projects, create value, help others when you can. But always come back to yourself. Always protect that inner space where nobody else has access. That's your sanctuary, your fortress, your source of power. And here's something powerful. Every time you choose solitude over connection born of desperation, you strengthen yourself. Every time you decline to compromise your values just to keep someone around, you build self-respect. Every time you sit with discomfort instead of numbing it with distraction or validation seeking, you develop emotional resilience. These choices compound. They build on each other, and over time, you become a different kind of man. The kind who doesn't need external validation. The kind who trusts himself. The kind who's free. The Stoics had a practice they called negative visualization. They'd imagine losing everything they had: their wealth, their position, their relationships, their health. Not to be morbid, but to remind themselves that these things are temporary, that they're not truly theirs, that the only thing that can't be taken is their capacity to respond with virtue. And by imagining loss, they appreciated what they had without clinging to it. They held things lightly, including relationships. Try this practice. Imagine you never end up in another relationship. You're single for the rest of your life. How would you live? What would you pursue? What would bring you meaning and joy? Really sit with that question, because the answer reveals what actually matters to you beyond validation and approval. And when you know what actually matters, when you build a life around those things, you become unshakable. Relationships become bonus, not necessity. Connection becomes choice, not desperation. And here's the paradox again. The man who could be completely happy alone is the man most worthy of companionship, because he's not using another person to fill his emptiness. He's whole already. He's inviting someone to share in his fullness. That's attractive. That's magnetic. That's what genuine partnership looks like. Not two halves making a whole, but two wholes choosing to walk together, each maintaining their own sovereignty, each respecting the other's independence, each complete whether together or apart. Seneca wrote, "The wise man is self-content. He is so in the sense that he is able to do without friends, not that he desires to do without them." That's the balance. You develop the ability to be happy alone. You build self-sufficiency, but you remain open to genuine connection when it appears. You don't avoid relationships, you just don't need them. And that makes all the difference. So where does this leave you? Right here, right now, with a choice. You can keep buying into the narrative that you're incomplete without someone, that your value depends on relationship status, that being single is something to escape as quickly as possible. And if you choose that path, you'll spend your life chasing, compromising, losing yourself piece by piece in the pursuit of external validation. Or you can embrace what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago, that true power comes from within, that self-sufficiency is the highest virtue, that a man complete in solitude is free in every circumstance. And if you choose that path, if you do the work, you'll build something that nobody can take from you, an inner fortress, a sovereignty that transcends circumstance, a peace that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval or presence. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. He had wealth, power, family, everything society says should make you happy. Yet he spent his evenings writing in his journal, reminding himself of what actually mattered: virtue, character, inner peace. He knew that everything else was temporary, that the only lasting value was the kind of person he was becoming, and he did that work in solitude, away from the crowds, away from the demands, in the quiet space of his own mind. You don't need an empire to do this. You don't need perfect circumstances. You just need to make the choice, to use your solitude as a gift, not a curse, to see being single not as a deficit, but as an opportunity, to build yourself so completely that you don't need validation from anyone. And when you do that, you become dangerous, not to others, but to the systems that profit from your insecurity. You become a man who can't be controlled, can't be manipulated, can't be sold something he doesn't need. You become free. And freedom is what the Stoics were teaching all along. Not freedom from circumstances, those will always change, but freedom within circumstances. The ability to maintain your peace, your integrity, your sense of self, regardless of what's happening around you, alone or with someone, successful or struggling, praised or criticized. None of it touches your core, because you've built something unshakable inside. And that, brother, is power. Real power. The kind that transforms not just your life, but the lives of everyone you touch. Because strength is contagious. Completeness inspires. Freedom spreads. So let me leave you with this. A man who needs no one is free to choose everyone. A man who needs someone is slave to his need. Which man do you want to be? The choice is yours. It's always been yours. And it starts right now, in this moment, with this decision, to stop seeking yourself in others and start building yourself in solitude, to stop measuring your worth by external validation and start grounding it in internal virtue, to stop running from being alone and start embracing it as the ultimate gift, the space where you become who you're meant to be. The Stoics are waiting for you, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. They walked this path. They proved it works. They left you a blueprint. All you have to do is follow it. Build your inner fortress. Cultivate self-sufficiency. Embrace solitude not as a punishment, but as a privilege. And watch what happens. Watch how your life transforms when you stop living for others and start living for yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in the way that honors your potential, your values, your unique path. That's what the Stoics called living according to nature, being fully yourself. And there's nothing more powerful than that. So if you found value in this, if these ideas resonate with something deep inside you, if you feel that pull toward building a different kind of life, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It tells me this message matters. It helps this reach other men who need to hear it. Subscribe to the channel because we're building something here. A community of men who refuse to live by society's script, who are doing the work, who understand that real strength comes from within. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one thing you're going to do this week to build your inner empire? One practice, one choice, one step towards self-sufficiency. And remember, this isn't the end, it's the beginning. Every journey toward freedom starts with a single step, a single decision. The decision to stop seeking worth in external validation and start building it through internal virtue. You've taken that step by being here, by listening, by opening your mind to a different way. Now keep walking, keep building, keep becoming. The man you're meant to be is waiting in the silence. Go find him. Until next time, stay strong, stay sovereign, stay free.